feels good to be back. And I say that every time, and I mean it every time. I have been sifting through what I want to say next, and sometimes there's so much I want to say, and I veer off into all these different tangents because I think in the moment I'm going to weave it together beautifully, and sometimes they're just meant to be strands, really not perfectly woven together, and I start stumbling over how to perfectly piece everything together, and it turns into a lot of rambling. So I realize that's one of my worries right now, is that what I say is going to be too out there. And then I realize that's exactly where I want to be. So thank you for joining me in a more vulnerable space, because these are the conversations that I want to be having, and I want to have them out loud. So what I'm sitting with is the excitement over meeting my personal brand. And know that this feels like an extension of me, as I'm calling it a personal brand. And yet it also is like developing its own being, or we're in the process of developing together. So I'm recording this mid-May, and I filed for my PLLC back in March. And before I get anyone that hears PLLC and thinks I'm mispronouncing LLC, it's not. It is separate. It is a PLLC, Professional Limited Liability Corporation. All right, cool. Glad I got that out of the way. So at the time I formed the PLLC, I really had no idea what I wanted the name to be, but I wanted to leave it like open and give it breathing room, but also have a sense of structure that I can use for my bank account and IRS structure and all of that. So the PLLC was necessary. The name came through an amendment a couple months later, through a lot of deep inner work on me discovering how I speak about therapy and what I want my personal brand to really represent and to mean. So it was a very creative process. It was a slow process, and I went from labeling my company to Creative Counseling PLLC to Well Within Reach PLLC. And this is a little bit behind the scenes of the why and the meaning, and a little get to know me, if you will. And so it feels very close to my heart. Know that me sharing this right now is my desire, this like a meta moment, but I see this brand, I see Well Within Reach as breaking the social norms of what it means to be a personal brand and what these offerings are, how I show up as a therapist, as a human, as a podcaster, as a creative being. And so my dream is to really share more vulnerably, and as I'm in the process, because I'm someone who has been deeply inspired by podcasts and mentors and Instagram reels and posts, and it seems like what I'm learning about the person is years down the line as they reflect on the beginnings of their business, or ways things went wrong, or some of their inner thoughts throughout the process, but not really during. And I thought it would be really meaningful to slow down and share a little bit of the meaning, because if I'm not doing that, I don't really know how I'm speaking for Well Within Reach. And so this process feels like I am merely a spokesperson today for Well Within Reach. So part of the journeying in choosing Well Within Reach was connecting with and defining, I guess, my intention, my integrity, and like really what the space of therapy means to me. And synergizing and trying to weave together and bringing in that weaving concept, my own metaphors to explain the work that I do, the person I am and the person I'm becoming, all the fun, deep psyche things that this brand is built off of. I realized that this is the process of creating Well Within Reach. I have some prompts that I went through and how I'd like to introduce Well Within Reach, but I'll just start with the name itself. And the name itself, Well Within Reach, there's two things going on here. There's this overarching concept of a well, a place you go and you gather water, and it feels like this infinite pool, and you can't really see. There's a lot of depth. We need water for life. There's that whole sustenance metaphor going on, this ancient wisdom, this feminine embodiment. And so this beautiful picture of a well comes to mind, and it's not a fully fleshed out metaphor, so bear with me, but I see myself as a therapist, as this facilitator or a guide walking someone to the well. Maybe sometimes in therapy, it's just walking to the well. Maybe sometimes it's drawing some water from the vessel. Maybe it's exploring what's in the vessel, and there's more, but the idea is that this well feels life supportive, regenerative. There's this sense of slowing down to gather, that you can't just overindulge in the contents of the well. You have to dig and dig slowly with compassion, love, tenderness, all of that. So it's also a team effort, and there are a lot of concepts that were really landing for me with this well. But the other piece here is because we're also talking about our mental, emotional, and even spiritual well-being. So to be well within, and that means to feel good inside, I thought was also this clever metaphor, going within, that there's this well within us, or to be well within. There's a thirst for knowledge and exploration, and that's our own well. So we search within that well. And then this concept within reach, I'll be honest and say that there were a lot of variations I was looking for, and a lot of them were already taken, whatever. But when I wrote well within reach, it also meant that our search and our desire to feel good and to grow in the ways we want to grow is actually within reach. It's right there. It's right within our grasp. So that's well within reach. Okay, so now I'm going to be diving into the Q&A portion with well within reach. So I will kick us off with the very first question, and that is a great question. Where am I where am I looking? Okay, so how do you, well within reach, want your community to feel when they land on your content and your brand? Hi, awesome. Well, thanks for asking this first question. I want my community to feel invited in, like they've arrived at a soft, spacious threshold where they can exhale. I want them to feel seen in their complexity, held in their tenderness, and gently reminded that they don't have to rush or perform. The experience should feel like a returning to something ancient and wise within themselves. A deep breath, a slow pour, or remembering, whether they're coming for therapy, a creative reflection, or simply wandering through their words. I really want them to feel met with warmth, clarity, and sincerity. So not that they're getting fixed, but that they're accompanied, and not overwhelmed, but rooted in something sacred, and that's unfolding. It's already well within reach. The next question is, what are your daily routines? What do they actually look like? To answer this, I'm going to give a very sincere answer. This is beyond an idealized version. This is the truth. The daily routines are imperfect. They're rhythmic-ish and centered around the intention to return to myself when I remember to. Some days start with tea, and some days start with journaling, and other days I open my laptop before I've even brushed my teeth. There are moments of presence, maybe lighting some incense after a session, or reaching for a grounded object, stepping outside, getting some air between clients. And then there are these stretches where I forget to eat lunch or reply to text messages. I aim to infuse spaciousness into my work, but I'm still unlearning urgency. Some weeks I journal or steep in a poem. Other weeks I'm navigating logistics, emails, and energy tips. My content doesn't get batched or planned perfectly. It gets birthed in bursts when something stirs or when I feel connected, when I've metabolized enough to share. At its core, my rhythm is not about looking polished or performing well. It's about being in practice with boundaries, beauty, and enough grace to start again. Whenever I veer off track, I try to return to the well. When I can, I draw what I need. I keep learning to trust that it's okay to be a living, breathing work in progress. Awesome. Well, per usual, thanks for the honesty. And the next question is, what seasons do you thrive in and why? I like this question. I'm going to start by saying that I'll just pinpoint where we are right now. So right now I'm in the season of play. Now that we're in May, it's summer. This is for wandering. It's when I crave novelty, new flavors, new cities, maybe some travel if I'm lucky, just new ways of moving through the world. I really want to be surprised. I want to try things I'm not good at. I swear I do, even if in the moment I'm scared, but I really want to laugh more. I want to think less. I want to stop needing every experience to have a clear outcome. So right now I'm not in the season of launching or defining, locking in who I am. It's this open season. There's no blueprint. There's, of course, always this pressure to perform and to post and polish, know who I am and package it. But truthfully, I'm too tired for all that right now. So instead, I'm letting curiosity lead. And I know I'll evolve, not because I push, but because I play. So I know fall will come and the vision will sharpen, the well will refill, but for now I'm just letting myself be in this season of not knowing, and it feels great. But the season that I do thrive in, I've noticed that there's this rhythm. There's this quiet stretch in late November. Things slow down, I turn inward. But around January, mid to end of January, there's this like fresh air, there's a burst of energy, I have a lot more clarity, and my vision wakes up. I feel clear and energized, and there's this momentum that picks up in February and carries throughout March and April. And so that's a season that I thrive in. There's the wind and movement, and ideas and projects are flowing with a sense of possibility and abundance, and they take shape in different forms, whether that's podcasts, offerings, collaborative things. I don't even know yet because it's May and I'm tired, but at this point, work has been good, deep, true, and I'm just starting to feel my own strain of output, this urge to rest and return to something more playful. So all that's to say, I really thrive in non-constant production and really just honoring the season that I'm in. So I love all the seasons. I just have to be really honest about what season I'm in. But yeah, I think I answered everything. Yes, awesome. I love that answer. And the next question I have for you is, what is your idea of a good day? Okay, so I feel like I'm going to start repeating myself, or you're just really getting to know me, but it's kind of like when someone says, wait, no one's ever asked me that before. And we pause, we let that land, or it's a circle of people getting curious together. It's maybe this solo moment of awe, or a creative spark that arrives and asks to be followed. My idea of a good time isn't like flashy or polished. It's really presence, it's permission without expectations. Sometimes that's a deep conversation. Sometimes it's getting messy and learning something new. Sometimes it's just sitting in the grass and being in awe of nature. Yeah, but really just being in flow and rhythm and relationship with ourselves, each other, and whatever mysteries unfold. I also really, I love humor. I love using that as metaphor, play, inquiry. But yeah, I love that. What would you say is your ideal day off? Honestly, it's interesting. My days are all pretty ideal, truthfully, but waking up slowly, like I have nowhere to be, even if I do have calls or meetings, but I like to move gently, maybe go to a Pilates class with my favorite instructor, go to the farmer's market, taste something new, but also known and something I love, send some voice notes back and forth to friends, eat some nourishing meals with my partner, cuddle my dog. Just like that feeling when time feels infinitely slow and the sun is shining, I'm in a fun outfit. And then by the evening time, I would love like a gentle closing ritual to honor the day, whether that's a sound bath or a yin class. Maybe it's even just sitting with cannabis, but overall, it's a day of connection and slow moving. I love the concept of slow moving. And I'm curious, what is your home like? How is your home decorated? Give us some insight into who you are from your home decor. Fun. Okay, so my style is not really super tidy, but very warm, cozy, like warm woods, woven textures. There's a lot of herbs and books stacked all over. I love ceramics, like handmade ceramics that are really beautiful and also feel good to hold. So I have a lot of mixture with earth tones and soft blues, like that water meeting clay. There's some natural light, a lot of natural light. There's very well lived in cushions, and there's always something steeping. I have a lot of art, and that has a lot of meaning for me. Objects have stories. It's a little witchy, but also on the minimalist side, so not really cluttered, and I'm working on that. And yeah, a lot of texture, so just a lot of good sensory stimulation. Nice. And what do your friends have to say about you? Or I guess, how would your friends describe you? How would my friends describe me? This is how I hope they would describe me, the idealized version. Like, she's the one who asks the best questions, or she's the witchy wise woman, always has a quote or a poem that you didn't know you needed to hear. She remembers that weird dream you had, but also the story about your friend's cousin's sister. And she knows your dreams and holds you to it. That feels complete. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's a harder question to ask what your friends would say about you, but I think you did great. And from what I'm learning about you, that feels really resonant. So the last question I have for you is, what are the values that you live by? Okay. I have this down just because I've been writing and really connecting with my own identity. Otherwise, this would be way too hard to pinpoint. But what I have down is curiosity, authenticity, connection, creativity, and wholeheartedness. And as I say all of those out loud, there's so many ways all of that crosses over, but they're also really distinct. There's curiosity. I want to know about things. I'm authentic. I'm real. I don't pretend to be an expert or something I'm not. I long for connection with people, my community. Being creative is really important to me, doing things different and in my style. And wholeheartedness is raw, real, compassionate with warmth and empathy. So that's the picture I'm hoping I paint, is this grounded, warm, inviting, nurturing presence. And of course, that's me on a great day. Don't catch me on a bad day, and those will be different, but that's what I'm striving to be. And yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Well Within Reach, for sharing more about yourself. And I know that you're pretty new to being, and this was a fun experiment. It was really fun for me, Molly, the host, to poke and ask these questions and just get more clarity myself on who you are and how you're showing up in the world and how we can collaborate, really. So I'm really grateful. I think this was a really fun exercise, and now I think it's time to log off, and I'm hoping I didn't overly confuse anybody, but thank you for tuning into this episode, and I hope you enjoyed meeting my personal brand, Well Within Reach.